Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Outside the Box. And I've been geeking out over this conversation for the last couple of days now. You didn't know it. You didn't even know you were going to be on the show.
No, I didn't. I had no idea.
Well, of course, guys, I'm talking with my cousin, Annie Jinks, and Annie's getting ready to work with us a little bit. And I have so many questions. First of all, how are you?
I'm doing well.
You're doing wonderful?
Yeah.
You just graduated?
Yes, I did.
From the University of Florida. Mm-hmm. What did you graduate in?
Applied physiology and kinesiology.
So explain that, like what that is to a layman.
Yes. Okay. I've heard that in many places. So what does that really mean?
Yeah.
So usually I just say that it kind of is a lot to do with how the body works, both inside and out in terms of activity. I specifically there are two ways you can specialize in my major, and that's kind of like personal training or exercise physiology. So I work kind of more on the science side of of exercise, and how your body works like biomechanically and things like that.
So you've always been interested in like how to get the most out of the body you're given, that sort of thing. Is that where it came from? Performance?
Yes. I think that is why I chose that major. But it was specifically more in tune with exercise than it was health overall, although it did focus on that. But more so the classes that I took for pre-med kind of combined with my major is what really showed me how that works.
So, like, how did you start to think that way? So you went from thinking about exercise and, being physically fit to how that makes you healthier. Is that talk to me about kind of where you're thinking there.
I would say that all kind of started in high school for me, because I was an athlete at the time, and, going into college, I didn't do any college athletics, obviously, but I kind of liked seeing how, in terms of my own sport and my own body, I like looking at how it all relates to me. So in my well-being, exercise and learning about my body, I think that kind of sparked that interest in health for me. And I did start out, focusing more on like physical therapy and more of the concept of exercise as medicine. And I still hold true to that. Like, I still believe exercise is medicine, but I kind of transitioned to more of me personally focusing on the medicine side of it.
So in terms of like your age group, this next wave of providers, because you're wanting to be a medical doctor and going to med school, is your thought process kind of the combination of those two? Like, how can I help people naturally, and then also combine the medicine to that? Like, where are you at there?
I think that my thing with that is like focusing on medicine as more than just treating symptoms. So like, you should focus on your well-being because of how you want to feel and like how you can perform, more than just like, oh, I need to go to the doctor, I have a runny nose, or I've dealt with this for so long, I don't know what to do anymore, kind of being proactive about it. And I think that what I studied in school kind of allowed me to see like all the ways that you can take care of yourself more than just what you need to do.
You mentioned proactive, and I'm obsessed with like being proactive with your health. Do you think that's where a lot of these, next medical doctors, nurse practitioners, physicians assistants, that's going to be their focus, is like, how can we treat root causes versus, just putting a Band-Aid over something?
I hope so. And I can't say that all of the future of medicine is going to be that, because there will always be people that are more focused on quick fixes and don't really care about their well-being in that way and what's really going on inside of their body. But I do hope that more people kind of see that there's so much more you can do with your health than just fixing what you need to.
So is that because of your background in sport and looking at yourself, or is that something that you've seen and like say, okay, like that really connects with me? Like whether it's with your parents' health, our family, what's that background?
So, I mean, I do think to a degree you guys kind of sparked that for me, because I don't think I would have known as much about it going into school and studying in that way. But it actually kind of, in the beginning of my school, I decided to do a minor in nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And going into a nutrition class, I kind of thought, what to eat and what not to eat. And then I kind of realized it goes much deeper than that. And like nutrition, it can be biochemical. Like there's so much more to it. With that being said, it ended up being way too much for me to take on with everything else I had to do. So I didn't continue that, but I did take a lot of the classes. And I think that fused with my exercise related major kind of just drove me to seek more of that information. So I did do other internships in Tampa, which is where I'm from, in functional medicine, which is kind of similar in that it treats through like supplementation. So it wasn't necessarily like medical in that way, but I really I found myself looking more into it on my own. And I think that's kind of how I realized that I really loved it.
Out of pure selfishness, like what's fascinating you the most right now? What are you most interested in kind of within this field? You mentioned nutrition earlier. Is there anything that's kind of sparking your interest right now?
Hormones, mostly.
Really?
I mean, and that's recent, and I think that's more because of how much I've been studying for the MCAT and stuff. The things that I find the most interesting, not specifically just hormones, but how they can interact with everything, and how much of a role they have in what we do and how we do it, and, how we interact with people, how we feel, our brains, it's just all so connected, and that's what I think is really cool.
That is fascinating. You mentioned that. And I do wonder like how many people are interested in that, is it, how mainstream is it? Is this something that you just went down a rabbit hole with?
I think to a degree, and I think that it kind of goes back to like how much you really want to know about yourself. So like some people could be interested in their hormones just because like, I get these headaches, or like, specific issues, or I'm not tall enough, or this or that. And then there are the people that are like, why do I not feel so, like, nothing's wrong with me, but why do I feel this way? Or like, what drives you to be the kind of person you are, I feel like is all kind of rooted in the connection between your brain and your hormones.
So what about you? Like, is there anything that you focus on with your own health, with your own regimen? Is there, like you mentioned,
I
the
wish.
food?
I wish. I mean, specifically, no. And a lot of that is because I'm kind of a college student, and I don't have a lot of money to spend on making myself, all that great right now. But I am aware of it, and I think that's what's important. And doing what I can with the means that I have right now. I do hope that I can do a whole lot more in the future, but right now it's more of just focusing on keeping myself active and like driven and doing things that will benefit me as a person and my well-being in general. And one day I'll focus on the small things.
I love that. And I got one more question for you, and that is like, what is your definition of functional medicine?
I think it's treating more than symptoms. It's treating your well-being in terms of nutrition on a deeper biochemical level. And I think it's knowing more about your body than you need to know to just be a functioning human being. It's making yourself feel as best you can, related to genes, hormones, like what works best for your body individually. And I think that's what's important, is not treating like, oh, this is what everyone should do. This is what's healthy. This is what's unhealthy. You shouldn't take that, or you shouldn't eat that. It's like what works for each individual person. I think that's what makes it different.
I love that. And I hope so much that there's going to be more and more providers like yourself. And Annie, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you stopping by the studio.
I actually enjoyed it, surprisingly.
Guys, this has been Outside the Box. This is Annie Jinks. Thank you guys for joining us. As always, we'll see you guys next time.
Don't go away.